It's that time again, boys. Time to ignite some drama, because whenever I make one of these videos it gets a spike and everybody turns to hostilities because I have different opinions outside of the echo chamber. So we're going to do a review of the March 2025 PTB developer update, because YouTube seems to like this kind of content, because every time we do one, as I say, we get a spike. So we'll see, you know. I'm going to give you the context initially. I haven't seen anything, didn't look it up. The context I have of this was about 10 minutes ago on Reddit, basically. I saw it, it popped up on the main leaks page, all that kind of stuff, which I lurk, because obviously I like to know what new content's coming to the game and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's all I know. So, I play this game 60-40, Killer Survivor. Dangerous, I know. I have knowledge of both sides of this game, and I am somebody who very passionately would like to see this game revert back to an actual horror game. Now obviously that's probably not going to happen, but it ties into a lot of probably the probable rants that you're about to hear me go on and all that kind of stuff, and it might sound killer-sided and all this kind of shit. Yeah, I'm just laying the groundwork because it's inevitable. If this gets a spike, we'll get them all fucking coming here again like killer main, all this kind of shit. I'm somebody, and this is a sentence I'm going to say, and I'm just going to leave it in the air and then we'll read the patch notes because this is the context. I am somebody who, when I play Survivor, I like to die. I do think it's part of the gaming experience of being Survivor, and escapes should actually be something you work for and are actually very rare in the common scheme of things. For both Killers and Survivor, the killing aspect in this game shouldn't really be at the forefront for either side. It's about making the most points in the trial itself, be it killing people, be it attacking people, hooking people, be it doing gens, be it rescuing from hooks, be it healing, all that kind of stuff, just squeezing the most amount of juice out of the experience in the game itself, rather than just rushing for kills, rushing gens, all that kind of stuff, you know. That's where my priorities lie. So with the direction they're going, if you know the basic context, I'm not going to go into it because it's going on too long, this, you'll understand where the rants come from. So we're going to begin with the 8.6.0 update quickly approaching its time once again to give you a look at the notable gameplay changes from the public test build next week, which I believe, and at the risk of sounding wrong, I believe this is going to be Tokyo Ghoul. There's a lot of people in the community who seem to have already just announced that this is going to be Tokyo Ghoul, because they're going to Tokyo on March 12th. Behaviour have got a booth in one of the conventions, so there's also been a lot of leaks and rumours and all that kind of stuff, so probably looking at Tokyo Ghoul being the chapter. So this will apparently be going on the gameplay changes for that PTB, so I don't know if I'm going to be looking at any of this because I'm going to be looking at the new killer, so we'll see. Status effect updates, mending actions, this is dangerous already. Change, decreased self-mending time to 10 seconds was 12. Decreased altruistic mending time to 6 seconds was 8. Right. Two things I'm going to say. This nerfs Legion directly. I can see his name peeking at the bottom, so maybe they're reworking him, maybe. Don't know. This also nerfs Deathslinger, which has pissed me off already, because I've been maining that killer recently as well. This is a nerf to Deathslinger and Legion. I can't remember who else there is who applies Deep Wound. Houndmaster does, with the dog. It's a nerf to those killers' slowdown. In a game where gen speeds, if you've got people doing gens and they're actually gen efficient, are too quick already. Oh yeah, okay. This also buffs anti-tunneling perks as well, which in my mind, as somebody who's used these perks as Survivor, and I've got footage on my channel using them, they're already too strong. They can legit make killers lose games if you just lock in like 3 perks on Survivor. Just run off the record DS and Dead, and you'll probably never get fucking hooked a second time unless they just focus you, but if they focus you they just lose, if you're at IMMR anyway, because they don't have enough time. See what they said. Dev note, we know that Deep Wound can be a frustrating mechanic. Yeah, well, it's a minor inconvenience at best. It's slowdown for killers like the killers like Deathslinger and Legion. What the fuck's Legion gonna do now? Obviously, there's something about him, killer updates down there, so maybe they're reworking him, I don't know. But the whole point of Legion is to chip away at the block, so to speak, by slowing survivors down and then getting out position downs and getting them people on the hooks and then rinsing and repeating. If you're minimising this Legion's not going to be able to fucking do anything. Just an M1 killer. Doesn't really work in the same sense against Deathslinger, because Deathslinger has range working for him. But fucking hell, dude. By reducing mending times, we hope to reduce this friction slightly. We want players to feel the urgency of triaging this status effects, but once they make the choice to act, we don't want them to feel pulled away from the game for too long. That's literally what mending does. Have they played? Did they know they've got Legion in the game? Fucking hell. This is exactly what I say, boys, when I say they don't play the game. They don't know what they're doing. Fucking hell. Like, that's literally, you've described it there. That's what Legion does. It pulls survivors away from gens. It's slowdown. So he's fucked even if you're playing him at Iron Man, mate. He's fucked now, because he's not going to have a chance. Because that's his slowdown, part of his slowdown. On top of all the fucking dying gen defense perks that we've now got. Whatever. That's a fucking spicy one right out the gates. Let's see what they've done with Legion. Decreased fatigue time to 2.5 seconds was free. That's a buff. Okay. Increased fatigue move speed to 2.3 meters was 2.07. That's also a buff. So we're just buffing him across the board, are we? Feral Frenzy lasts for 11 seconds was 10. That might be quite good. The extra second, I don't think you'd feel it as much if you were doing Never Sleep. Because people run Never Sleep because the actual vanilla frenzy is just, you're never going to hit more than one person with it. You just shift W and then that's it. The extra second might not be enough for that. Because it is what it is. As soon as you see yellow bars on the side of the screen, mate, and you hear the heartbeat, just press W. Press Shift W. And then he won't be able to get you. Unless he's running Never Sleep. Just literally run to the other corner of the map and he can't do anything. Don't get his power. Don't know if an extra second is going to do anything to that, to be fair. Don't know. I'd never play this killer anyway, because I find him boring to play against, and I find him boring to play as, to be honest. Just by virtue of what he does, but yeah. Feral Frenzy cooldown is now 15 seconds, was 20. That's a buff. 5 seconds is quite nice as well. That's an healthy buff, that, I think, to be honest. 5 seconds isn't too much, and it's not too less either. Movement speed earned by hit during Feral Frenzy is now 0.24, was 0.20. You're never going to feel that, mate. 0.004. No. I don't know about that, mate, to be fair. Like, I'm sure. I don't think you're ever going to feel that. Just did several add-ons, yeah. To account for reduced mending times, we've adjusted Legion's kit to ease the downtime between power uses by extending Feral Frenzy and adjusting its cooldown and achievement and movement bonus. The goal is to provide the Legion with a slight buff to their ramp up as they weaken survivors, giving them more opportunities to lean on their mobility. Then with the adjustments to fatigue, they'll be able to get back into chases quicker with Feral Frenzy ends. After Feral Frenzy ends, better close the deal. These changes will make Legion feel more like an active and mobile threat, reducing their reliance on more passive status effects. Yeah, so that's alright, sure. I do think this killer's just dog water to begin with, so I'll take anything at this point, because I've tried to play him, but as soon as you 4K the first 2 games or something like that, you start to realise that this is just fucking unplayable. Yeah. I don't know, man. As it is what it is, boys. Like, I can only say so much. I don't play this kill, and I probably never will. It's just, he's boring. This is a direct nerf to Deathslinger, though, who I've started maining recently, or was maining anyway. I don't know if this is going to dictate over it. It's part of his slowdown. The Xenomorph. This is very dangerous. Please. This is going to be another fucking Chucky treatment, innit? Next on the fucking Twitter chopping block. Have we been whining about how it's too oppressive, you know, in a horror game with a power roll? Increased tail attack charge time to 0.35 seconds was 2. Yep, there's your nerf. First nerf. Increased tail attack charge sound volume for survivors. Fucking hell. Right. Reduced missed attack cooldown to 2.5 seconds was 3. That's a buff. Because you're almost always going to miss it now, because 0.15 of a second is actually a long time in a live environment. And also the fact that it's going to blast a fucking sound effect into their ears now. Because everything needs to be telegraphed and everything needs to have a massive sound. It's like Huntress pulling a hatchet out, you know? As soon as she pulls it out, because we could never actually look behind us and see what she's doing, you know? Fucking insane. Increase the killer instinct range when exiting a tunnel to 16 meters was 12. That's a buff. So it's more information. Don't think killer instinct is countered by distortion either. Just in case they try to use that. Nobody's going to fucking use distortion anyway. Distortion's dead. They fucked that one off as well. Decrease the time it takes to get out of a tunnel by 1.5 seconds was 2.25. That's good. So that's actually good. So you're going to come fucking leaping out of your tunnels. 1.5 seconds. Increased amount of fire needed to burn the Xenomorph out of crawler mode to 175 was 100. That's a buff. Increased delay before the Xenomorph's heat dissipates to starts to dissipate to 15 seconds was 1. Oh. Oh, it's the Chucky treatment, boys. We've got the money now, haven't we? That's it. Fuck it off. Get rid of it. We've cashed it in. That's ridiculous. 14 seconds. Decrease the Xenomorph's heat dissipation rate to 2/S, don't know what that means, was 25. So they've made, this is only going to harm high level play then, isn't it? I'm not going to read the dev note yet because it's going to fucking piss me off. I can tell this coming because they're going to start preaching about how it's, you know, too difficult to play around this such and such mechanic and all this bollocks. Increase the amount of fire to burn the Xenomorph out of the crawler mode to 175, right? So that sounds like a buff. But then they've increased the delay with which it dissipates to 15 seconds. So when you get taken, you've got a turret at a loop, right? And I'm thinking about high level survivors here, high MMR, right? Usually what happens with survivors know maps, but once you get to mid to high MMR, survivors are probably going to know what maps look like at that point. Yeah, so they're going to know where the loops are. They're going to know how to rotate tiles, right? So all you need to do against Alien now, if I'm reading this right, is you stack burn on it. So the way it used to work, or the way it currently works before this change, is if you've got a turret at a loop, a Xeno, and you're approaching that loop, you're in crawler mode. As soon as that if you're chasing the survivor, obviously, and you're not actively looking for this turret, you don't know it's there, because obviously if it's behind a wall, you're not going to know it's there because it'll be silent. You're not going to immediately look for this turret. You're going to be focused on chasing the survivor. You might be lining up a tail attack on this survivor to get close to a pallet or something. You turn around the corner, you start getting hit by this turret, right? In the current state of it, where it's at 100 at the moment, so obviously this won't work anymore, but I'll get onto that in a minute with what they've done, because this isn't actually a good thing. It's actually bad, this. It gives you a shield, essentially, is what it does, for what I'm about to say. As soon as you start getting hit by that turret, if you don't immediately face that turret and hit it with your tail, wherever it is, you have to really zero in on that shit from the alien's perspective, right? If you don't immediately do it as soon as it starts shooting you, you'll get broken out of your tail. That's what happens in this particular instance, right? There's a very small forgiveness window. So now, obviously, with the 175, it won't be like that, but all that fire that gets put on you when you actually, when it starts shooting you to the point where you actually destroy that's going to stay 14 seconds longer. So what survivors will now do is they'll basically put turrets around loops so that when you go to your first loop, you'll get a bit of amount of fire burn on you, as I should say, off the first turret. You destroy that turret, this slows you down as well when you use the tail, so it's basically a chase reset if they just shift W. So they'll move to the next loop, and then during that won't be 15 seconds. So the next turret that you approach at that point, provided the shield, depending on how much this is fucking alien language, mate. 175, I don't know what 75 is. To be honest, it doesn't even say, it's not seconds obviously, but it doesn't even have a value next to it, so I don't know what this is in terms of how much that actually is. You'll go to that next loop and you'll have no time to destroy that turret before it breaks you out your tail, because 75 is less than the 100, so 75 is slightly less than the time you would have to break out the first turret in the current state of Xeno. So it's going to be less time, I believe. You might still have a bit of shield over, I don't know, but it's basically they're just going to stack burn on you, because it's also decreased the Xenomorph's heat dissipation rate to 2 whilst 25, so you now have to wait 15 seconds, which isn't going to work, by the way. You are going to have to fucking FaceTime this, because if you're going to stand there or stay out of time, be hyper worried about a turret being nearby or anything for 15 seconds, at higher MMR you'll just lose the game, because you need to be consistently downing people in 10-20 seconds average, otherwise you just lose as killer if you've got people on gens. That's how it works at IMMR. So Alien is pretty much dead at IMMR now, based on this. So again, we're getting closer to what I said a couple of months ago, when I said soon it will only be Blight and Nurse, because all we're doing is nerfing killers constantly, because we're listening to Twitter and people that shouldn't be anywhere near a fucking PvP game. But it is what it is, because I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's happening before your very eyes. And I've been right 3 times so far on the things that I've said, boys. So we'll see what happens in July as well, when Phase 2 hits, and we address anti-slunking, anti-camping, anti-tunneling, literally anti-killing at this point in time. But yeah, tangent aside, you wait that 15 seconds, then it's going to dissipate at what the fuck that is, 2/S. It was 25. So whatever that is, that's significant anyway. That's 23 less. Like, you know, so even when you've waited that 15 seconds out, it's going to fucking, the heat dissipation's going to be ages anyway to get the actual heat off you. So you'll just get re-tapped by the turret, and then it'll break you out anyway. You're basically just going to get broken out of your tail whenever they use a turret. Essentially, every second turret you encounter, you'll lose your tail, depending on how big this window is. Based on that, fucking insane. This is gonna piss me off, this big fucking paragraph, dude, because they don't know what they're doing. In its current state, Xenomorph's tail attack tends to be a little bit difficult to dodge. No, it doesn't. With a short window between wind up and attack, because it's the power roll and it's a killer, it should be hard to actually attack. Giving her it basically the Huntress treatment with this big fucking sound that's going to blast into your ears, and also adding what is actually quite a substantial value to 0.2 in human brain time in a chase. No. It wasn't difficult to dodge anyway. It was there was still a sound notification, and it was very wonky. If you were getting hit by tails, it was just because the Xenomorph player was actually good and had put the hours into actually mastering it, you know. But we like to punish that. So, with a short window between wind up and attack, to give survivors more of a chance to anticipate and react to it even more than they already had, we've adjusted its charge time and made the wind up louder. To balance this out, we've reduced the cooldown on misses so Xenomorph can keep pressure up. That's at least a little bit considerate. That's fine. Reducing the cooldown, sure. But the nerfing things and not addressing gameplay problems. It's fucking, it does me fucking head in, dude. It really does. We've also found that turret impact can be inconsistent, providing huge value at high skill levels and being very ineffective at lower levels, because just because people don't know where to put turrets are, that's not a fucking alien issue. That's literally a fucking, in the nicest way possible of gaming colloquialism, you know, it's a skill issue, essentially. Which is what you said there, high skill levels. People know how to play against Alien at high skill. When they don't know how to play against Alien, obviously they're going to be ineffective because people haven't learned out where to place them properly yet. You know? So why just nerf it overall? For the sake of people that have only... Like, you're basically nerfing an entire fucking killer at all levels of elo for the sake of somebody's first game. Somebody's first fucking game. You know? That's what they're doing. Nerfing everything for new players is not the fucking way you do it. Fucking hell. Rather than having turrets act as an immediate threat that dissipates quickly, heat build-up will remain for longer. Yeah, but it only harms higher level play. This should help give you a little more value to smaller bursts of heat that aren't enough to knock Xenomorph out of crawler mode. Like literally deleting its power every second turret, you know? As weaker turret placements can build up over time. Fucking hell. I can hear them all coming in my comments already, like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, stop complaining. Oh. Let's go and form a fucking wank circle on Twitter about this guy on YouTube. This sentence right here, boys, I'm going to make it fucking black and white for you. Where is it? As weaker turret placements can still build up over time. This is the problem with the design philosophy for this game, right? And what pisses me off about it, for what I've just mentioned here, right? It's ineffective at lower levels, right? Because new players, when it's your first time against the Xenomorph, alien, whichever you want to call her, right? You're not going to know what the fuck turrets even do, or you're not going to know where to place them, right? Most of the time, if you've got common sense, you'll just place them out in the open, right? Usually, when you place them out in the open, that's bad, right? Because the alien can just see them. They're going to know where the turret is, so they'll be able to charge that tail up and hit it immediately, probably before it even launches at them, right? That's the skill issue, yeah? And that's what they're going on about here. As weaker turret placements can still build up over time, they're basically saying it doesn't matter where you place the turret, you're going to get rewarded for it either way. Rather than learning how to fucking place a turret properly, you're still going to get rewarded. And what this breeds into, when you go up to higher MMR, is basically this fucking killer is never going to have its power up ever again. Unless you want to just keep ducking in and out of tunnels, to get your power back. If they've even kept the burn thing in where the burn vanishes when you go into a tunnel. Because they haven't mentioned that either. The nerfing for like day one players, and it's harming the rest of the fucking game, dude. Because once you start knowing how to play Survivor, this game's a fucking breeze, mate. For Survivor. I don't know what all this complaining's about on Steam and Twitter and all that kind of shit. And it's why I always say it, and it's not me saying it in a hostile way, it's an observation way, that half of them fucking shouldn't be playing PvP games. Because they're shit at them. It is what it is. Nobody else fucking says that shit. It's a genuine observation, boys. I've never had issues in solo queue. I escape most of my games. I've got fucking videos on my channel of me doing it. Booting into the fucking game from the login screen and chatting shit at the login screen saying, hi guys, I'm going to escape this game today. We boot in, we don't edit that shit, we get out, we escape. I don't see what the issue is, I really don't. And with the amount of solo queue escapes I've had, I'm not at fucking low MMR on Survivor. I'll tell you that right now. Fucking hell. To ensure this sustained heat isn't too punishing, we've balanced it with a higher heat threshold for the Xenomorph. That's not balancing it. You're disguising a positive as a negative. That's a negative. This. In terms of... This 75, this particular 75 here is not enough to compensate for this. These. That doesn't matter. They'll still just stack it. Because it still takes 15 seconds to even start dissipating. And then it fucking decays at a snail's pace. And I'm hazarding a guess as well that because this is 175 and there's more burn here required, that's a lengthier time for it to decay. Because if there's more of it, it's not decaying from 100 now. Or whatever value. It's going to be decaying from more, like 140, 150. Which is even slower. And that was at 25, so that's 2 now. So that's going to take fucking ages to dissipate. And if that is the case, that's technically a nerf. Because it holds this dissipation longer then. I don't know if how that works, so I don't know if that's how it's going to work. But yeah, that's not a fucking... It's not balancing it out, I'll tell you that right now. It just isn't, mate. Fucking hell. We also did a pass on Xenomorph's add-ons to buff some of its weaker, less used ones, while realigning some turret-based add-ons. Realigning all of them, because they were all fucking useless. And we changed Malted Skin, that fucking green add-on that makes survivors exhausted for 3 seconds when they're on the other side of the map, you know, for placing a turret. You know. Sure. Hey, there he is. Twitter's previous chopping block victim. Reduced Hideo mode cooldown to 12 seconds was 14, that's a buff. Reduced time to reach max speed after Scamper. This is irrelevant. There's literally no point in using Scamper at all. It's actually a negative. I'll tell you why it's a negative, because I'll explain it to you, as I say, where I come from. I always do. Scamper is the only, it's the ability locked portion of his power, because you can't activate this anymore. Granted, at release it was a bit busted, because obviously just moving under a pallet after it had been dropped, yeah, that was a bit fucked. But then they just decided to completely delete it from the game, because basically what happens is if a survivor drops Shack Pallet, we'll use Shack Pallet as an example here. Survivor drops Shack Pallet in front of you, and you are slice and dicing, you're charging at that point in time, rather than just breaking it. And this is what I'm talking about, the irrelevancy of this kind of ability. You should be breaking that pallet, not charging, scampering it. When you scamper under that pallet, you get locked in place and you'll carry on charging forward. So basically what will happen is you'll charge towards that pallet and end up throwing yourself into the fucking lockers. Meanwhile, the survivor who drops that pallet either has to just move to the left or the right of the pallet, and they're completely safe. Because Scamper's forced, it's auto-casted when you go under that pallet, and then it continues whatever's left of your slice and dice. So unless you perfectly time the distance of slice and dice so it ends as soon as you come out of that pallet, but even then you get locked in animation of the cooldown anyway. So either way, the survivor can just revolt the pallet. So there's no actual positive to ever using this whatsoever. So that's pointless. Yeah, ideal more cooldown though. 2 seconds off that, sure. We know that the good guy's utility and mobility in chases has historically been one of his core draws. Mobility, boys. Nurse move speed. That's mobility. That's actually insane. That's next level, that. Mobility in chases. Nurse move speed. It's very telling, boys. Maybe they do playtest it, but they only playtest it at low MMR. Because you would only write this sentence if you're consistently going against survivors that don't look behind them and only run in straight lines. Because then, yeah, it is good. Because you can just slice and dice straight forward into people. You get a slice and dice with this killer at the moment, just press A or D, and you're out of it. Obviously it's a bit of an exaggeration, but yeah, you move to the side, and you can also very easily 360 it, because it's got a very small hitbox as well. That's actually insane. Mobility. Nurse move speed, by the way. Because Twitter don't have eyes or fucking ears, and can't see a massive red light that's approaching them, or listen to the very loud and obvious giggling that's approaching when he's actually stealthed, you know? Fucking insane. I've held true for ages though anyway, this killer was massively over-nerfed. Because they just fucking whined about him. He's similar to the Skull Merchant situation, where Skull Merchant was only ever like C to low B tier at best, ever, you know? Apart from the people that actually knew how to play as her. There you go. It's historically been one of his core draws. It hasn't. Well, it might have been initially at his release, but it ain't anymore. Well, recent changes have made him less oppressive at lower MMR ranks. Yep, so he's dead at high MMR for that reason, because you're balancing around day 1 players, which is 90% of Twitter. That's me clicking the wrong fucking thing. We've made some adjustments to help get him back in action quicker and improve movement feel, particularly accelerating back to speed quicker after a scamper animation ends. You should never be scampering though. So it's redundant, to be honest, because you should never be scampering. It's a negative. It just is what it is. You just destroy the palette and move on. Sure. Anyway, terror radius adjustments. Okay. Increased Hillbilly's terror radius to 40 was 32. That's because he's traversal based, that innit? Yeah, Blight's terror radius to 40 was 32. It's a more warning. It's alright, to be honest, because they are traversal based, so yeah, I do think that's alright, to be fair. I've given him a bigger terror radius. Yeah, it's 8 meters. I still don't know what meters looks like in this game, to be honest. It's very weird. Because we had the barbecue and chili. Well, it was a personal situation for me with barbecue and chili where it says it shows auras past 40 meters whenever you hook somebody. But I've got genuine picture memory of seeing survivors very close whenever I hook people. Their auras, and then not seeing anybody far away, you know, when they're actually far away, when I'm playing as like a high mobility killer, and there's been no distortions on the team or anything like that. Well, yeah. Decreased the pig's terror radius to 24. We've got a pig buff, kind of. Although if you're a good pig, you probably shouldn't have a terror radius. Decreased Ghostface's terror radius. Again, if you're playing Ghostface, you probably shouldn't have a terror radius. But even so, yeah, sure. While your power's down, I suppose. Decrease the School Merchant's terror radius to 24. Ooh, okay, that's good. Been playing a bit of Scully recently. I do play her as stealth as well. I've been running adaptive lighting and manuscript. Because it's actually quite good, to be honest. The best way you can play her anyway, because the turrets don't fucking do anything. Apart from granting that initial undetectable. And a speed burst if you happen to get a scan line. Monitor and abuse might be good on an owl then. I've not used that perk since fucking Doctor's release though, so I can't remember which way around it is. It makes sense if it's when she's in chase she'd have a larger terror radius, I think it is, and then when she's not, she's got a really small terror radius. I think it's 8 meters, is it? So she'd have a 16 meter terror radius with monitor and abuse. That seems pretty fucking strong, actually. I might fuck with that, actually. Monitor and abuse on Scully. Maybe. See how that goes. The 16 meter terror radius is... I'm trying to think. It's not Mike's, is it? Mikey Myers. No, it's not. I'm sure Myers is the... I don't know, because it's a weird one. I'm sure he's got something to do with his terror radius, because I remember him having a really small one at one point. Which might be similar to Myers. That's interesting though. I might try Monitor and Abuse School Merchant after that goes live. It's quite interesting. We've just did several killer terror radiuses to better fit with their intended playstyles. Killers with high mobility can zip across the map at high speeds and have their radiuses increased to give survivors a greater chance to react to their approach. Yeah, fair enough. Honestly. Actually, fair enough. We've also reduced the radiuses for stealthy killers to better fit their playstyles. The School Merchant is a slight outlier here. She's only got stealth left, mate. Yeah. So, while she can gain undetectable by deploying a drone, we thought she could still benefit from added stealth support. Yeah. She can, mate, because she's fucking got nothing else. Because she got nerfed to fucking Twitter. Destroyed. Removed. You know? A trend that's becoming fucking relevant because we've done it to Alien. Now, as well. I'm not saying this might have been Twitter, I don't know, because I don't fucking go in that cesspool, but it's got to have something to do with it, because behaviour takes most of the balancing fucking arguments from there. It's destroying the game as well. Match surrender option, here we go. I didn't know this was coming. We heard about this a couple of weeks ago. New, if one of the following conditions is met, the surrender option will become available on the match details screen. So when all remaining survivors are bots, the killer can surrender without a disconnection penalty. I spoke about that though previously. I don't know why you'd do it. I'd still just play versus the bots and get the points to be honest, rather than just completely wasting your time and going back to the lobby. I'd at least take the farm. So yeah, sure. When no generator has been completed for 10 consecutive minutes, the killer can surrender without a disconnection penalty. That's good. That is good. We need the survivor equivalent though, where it's the fucking standoff, where you're both waiting for each other to die. When all of the remaining survivors are bots, the survivor can surrender without a disconnection penalty. Okay. When all survivors are in the dying state, the survivor can surrender without a disconnection penalty. What the fuck? So does that replace them with a bot, though? They'll just fucking surrender as soon as they go into the dying state, mate. If they're all there, you know? Like, I know the slugging situation's fucking, you know, it's shock horror, all that kind of shit, because we're removing gen defense from the game and making it just not even possible to play at IMMR anymore for killer, based on the changes you've been seeing here, and stuff like that, where they're just removing killers from the game at IMMR for the sake of low MMR, people that are going to get better anyway, and reach IMMR if they commit to the game, you know? So when everybody's in the dying state, they can just give up. Right. But the thing is, like, killers will be hooking at that stage anyway, so they just replace with a bot. I'm assuming the surrender's just replacing it with a bot. Doesn't end the game entirely. I'm assuming. The thing is, fellas, because survivors just fucking give up as soon as you look at them these days in the games. So when you're giving them agency over, like, when they can fucking surrender and all this kind of stuff, by surrender, I'm assuming it's just a DC without a disconnection penalty. And that's fine. Yeah, sure, that's good. But if it means surrender as in the game ends, that's bad. Because it's literally cutting the game short for the sake of throwing a fucking fit. And survivors throw a fit a lot. I want to believe it means, because it says the survivor, it's not plural. They can just DC without a disconnection penalty, fine. You know? Whatever, sure. Yeah, we know it can be frustrating to find yourself in a scenario that's unwinnable when you would rather move on. To address these scenarios, against 4-man Swifts. To address these scenarios as well as cases where the opposing side has been fully replaced by bots, we've added a match surrender option. We're currently targeting the most disruptive cases, but we'll continue to monitor player behaviour to identify if there are further opportunities for expanding on this option. Yeah, Survivor Gambits is another one, where you've got 2 survivors just literally hiding in the corners of maps, which I assume is oh no, actually, yeah, it falls under the 10 consecutive minutes one, that. The thing is, though, it's 10 consecutive minutes, boys, you know? And if we're actually doing this for 10 minutes, that's trolling, as far as I'm concerned. So when you DC or you surrender as killer in that instance, you should get the kills for that. On your side of things. I'm not saying take it as a kill for survivors or anything like that, just on your side, on your grade, emblem, whatever, you still get 4Ks. Because after 10 minutes of survivors not letting you find them, and just hiding, literally, that's trolling. It's taking the game hostage. After 10 fucking minutes. If it just cuts the game off and you don't get the points for it, no. Needs to give you your BP at the end of it, mate. I don't think it will, because it doesn't mention it. Sure. And for all you plot twisters out there, we see you. This will not trigger the surrender option. Okay. Oh, hang on. This is how bad the community of this game is, dude, because I'm automatically thinking of how this can be used to troll, because they'll fucking find it. They always do. So you'll get people, unless this is one person as well. If this is only going to not trigger the surrender option if it's got plot twist in their inventory or in the perk loadout, somebody's just going to bring plot twist and just slug themselves and keep themselves on the ground. Like, they'll still do that. And just wait out the bleed out timer. Because there's a lot of cunts in this community. Don't know, man. We'll have to see. Fuck me, what's Forsaken Boneyard? Realm expansion. Expanded the Forsaken Boneyard realm with a shack-focused map. Ah, okay. Ah, right, okay, so it's a new Erie's map without main building. This is good, actually. I do like this. I actually do like this. It's one of the shittest maps in the game, because obviously everybody's got like built-in light-footed on this map, but it's variance. I do like this. I actually do like this. It's a shack-focused map, so it's basically Wrecker's Yard for Erie's. It's the Erie version of Wrecker's Yard. The auto-waving one that's just got a shack in the centre. Looks like it's slightly off to the centre on this one though. Don't know where it is. I think it's over here off screen. Or maybe it's there. They've said it's a shack. Oh no, it's there, is it? Is it that one? I think it's there, isn't it? Yeah, so the shack's at the back of the map by the looks of things. Yeah, it's Wrecker's Yard, but for Erie's. Which is quite good, because every time, well, they should be nerfing map offerings, I think, as well, but as soon as you get sent here, you can always get this one, which is probably less problematic, because it removes the boil over fucking shite that they do. So they can get fucked by this, which is good. Improved the existing map tiles to improve navigation, we'd have to see that. Sure. We're spending the Forsaken Boneyard realm and map pool, the new map layout for the Killer Shack at its centre. It's there, innit? That's the centre of the map. That's fucking massive then. I can't see because of the... Dude, it actually is. That's the centre. It goes all the way to the back over there. That line there, that's the back of the map. The shack's away from that wall. So this has got to be right at boundary. Right here. Because that's fucking massive if it is. Goes all the way over there as well. That's Mother's dwelling size, I think. Having a look at that. Fucking scratch marks there, dude. I can actually see scratch marks. Took that picture a bit too early. Somebody on the dev team's run across there. Yeah. That looks fucking massive, that map, though. Sure. Perk updates. Survivor perks. Here we go. Quick and quiet change. Decrease the cooldown to 20-15. Was 30-25-20-20. That's a buff. Sure. Deception. Increase the time during which you leave no scratch marks to 5 seconds. Was 3. That's a buff. Decrease the cooldown to 25-20-15. You only have to read this one anyway. You're never gonna have these. I wish they'd fucking remove perk tiers, honestly. It just doesn't need to exist. Decrease the cooldown to 15 seconds was 20. It's a buff again. Buff. Dance with me. Increase the time during which you leave no scratch marks to 5 seconds was 3. Buff. Decrease the cooldown. They're just the same identical buff every time, probably. Decreased the minimum generator repair time needed to trigger this perk to 1 second was 3. Massive buff. Decreased the cooldown to 15 seconds was 40. This is the... You do a generator and then you jump in a locker and it makes a loud noise at the generator, I think. Or it might be the other way around. No, yeah, because it wouldn't do it at the locker. There's no reason to look at a locker. Yeah, I think it is anyway. You jump in a locker and then it booms the gen. So this is all deception shit. Basically. Stealth. Well, not stealth, but hiding scratch marks and things, innit? While these perks specialise in misdirecting the killer, we found that their cooldowns don't match their value. By reducing their cooldowns and increasing the duration of their effects, specifically Deception and Dancing, we hope to give these off-meta perks a better chance at value in deception-based builds. Sure, I mean, it's low Mamar again, isn't it? You're never going to see this shit. You just run off the record, DS, Dead Hard, all that kind of stuff, Dramaturgy, Windows, all that kind of stuff. I rarely ever see this shit in my games, past my first few, whenever I try a new killer. Sure. Killer perks, ready for 5 nerfs, boys. Knockout, here we go. When a survivor drops a pallet, if they move 6 meters away from it, within 6 seconds, they gain 5% hindered for 5 seconds. That might be quite good. 5% hindered. Because I always run Brutal Strength anyway, because I've always said Brutal Strength should just be base kit, because of the fucking how slow it is to break pallets without Brutal Strength. Brutal Strength saves loads of time. So you're running Brutal Strength with this. I'm assuming... Does the pallet have to still exist? No. Because I bet it fucking does, doesn't it? Knockout is a perk that's associated with slugging, leading to particularly unfun game styles. Yeah, well, this is what you get when you keep nerfing everything. Banging your head against a fucking brick wall, trying to explain this to people. Looking to make changes to the perk whilst keeping it useful for killers. Yeah, so the slugging thing's gone on it. Although they haven't listed it, which is weird, because they usually say they've removed it. Yeah. Sure. Alien Instinct. Increase the aura reveal duration to 8 seconds was 5. Careful, that's a buff there. Increase the duration of Oblivious to 60 seconds was 20. Wow, that's a buff. So we've destroyed the killer, but we've buffed the perks, okay. Sure. Another stealth perk. I mean... They didn't list what it does because I only ever run like 4 perks in the entire game because there's only 4 perks that actually do anything. But yeah, sure, it's a stealth perk, so maybe Stealth Merchant. I don't know. I'd have to see how it triggers. It's not ultimate weapon. Ultimate weapon was the locker one, where you open the lockers and everybody screams if they're further away. I think it was, although that got nerfed as well and destroyed. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Hysteria. This is the Nemesis perk. Whenever you hit somebody, all the other injured survivors become oblivious, I think. Or everybody who is injured. Increase the duration of Oblivious to 40 seconds was 30. Okay, was 30, 30, 30 for some reason. Decrease the cooldown to 20 seconds was 30, that's a buff as well. More stealth. Buff. Pushing stealth here for both sides is weird. Trying something new here, aren't we? Deathbound. This is the Pyramid Head perk that... something to do with healing. You move at a certain range as to somebody else, and if you move away from them, I think you scream, and you're oblivious. I don't know. Shorten the range at which this perk activates to 4 meters was 8. Don't know what it does. That might be a buff though. If it means you can only move 4 meters away, so you have to glue to each other, or it goes off. And Nemesis, that's going to be the last thing. Nemesis, increase the aura reveal duration to 8 seconds was 4. Sure, not a buff. Similar to the above, we've identified some killer perks that also have been underperforming, boasting lower pick and kill rates. We've adjusted their values to help increase their viability in more specialised perk builds. Yeah. Sure. There it is. We're getting a new Ares map. Match surrender option. Terror radiuses. well, fine, to be honest, for me, personally. We just acknowledged Chucky exists, we deleted Alien. Legion got minor buffs. We buffed Anti-Tunnel, indirectly nerfed Deathslinger and Legion at the same time. And yeah, that's gonna be that. See you on the next one, eh, boys?